My name's Paul, welcome to Paul Perambulates. In this episode, I'm in the southwest of England, in Devon, exploring the northwest corner of Dartmoor. My start point is Prewley Moor, postcode EX201AR, grid reference SX54479101. What 3 words? Ambition reverses headers. It's a 2-day walk. On day 1, I climb up to Sourton Tors, then take the dismantled railway path southwards via Great Noden and Noden Gate. I then turn eastwards, take the steep climb up to Brat Tor and go all the way across to Green Tor. I then turn back westwards to my wild camping spot for the night, Great Links Tor. On day 2, I go eastwards again via Kitty Tor and a crossing of the West Oakmont River to the highest point on the moor, High Willhays, swiftly followed by the second highest, Yes Tor. Then I turn back westward, passing Brat Tor, recrossing the West Oakmont River and visiting Shelstone Tor and Sourton Tors again, before dropping back down to Prewley Moor. Total distance 24.1 kilometres. Total height gain 1,120 metres. Total walking time 7 hours and 58 minutes. This is the road that runs from the turn off from the main road up to the waterworks at Prewley Moor, and along either side of it there are a lot of these gravelled parking areas. They are free, there are plenty of them, so parking really shouldn't be a problem. There's a gate at the bottom of the road. I seriously doubt whether it's ever closed. If it is, it would only be overnight. As with all decent hill walks, there's a good old climb to start with. 150 metres of height gain on our way up to Sourton Tors, which we can see up there ahead. There's a vehicle track here going over short grass in between patches of bracken. Not too difficult to find the way. On the way up to Sourton, we get a good view of High Willhays and Yes Tor, where I'm going tomorrow. And then just across from that, Westmill Tor and just the top of Roe Tor. Found these remains here. Don't know whether they've been excavated or whether they were built down into the ground like that. Possibly something to do with the large amount of lead mining that used to take place in this area, more of which we will see as we proceed. Certainly got the whole panoply of livestock today. Ponies and sheep here. I've just come past some cows as well. Arriving at Sourton Tors now. Not one of the tidier ones. Basically loads of rocks strewn everywhere. Somewhere up around here there's a trig point just off the top. The foals can try and hide it as much as they like. There it is. We're already getting the benefit of that height gain with some spectacular views over the North Devon countryside. From here we get our first view of tonight's destination, Great Links Tor. I'm currently walking along the path of the dismantled railway, which is the main path around this part of the moor, part of Dartmoor's industrial past, another part of which we'll see tomorrow. I bring the scouts along here every January, and because I'm busy training them, there are a lot of bits and pieces that I don't get to visit. Well, today I haven't got them with me, and one of those places is this big lump we're looking at down here on the right. which is called Great Noden. We normally go round it. I'm going to go and have a look up on the top of it today. Top of Great Noden. 2 cairns here. Suspect the one over there actually marks the top, the other one marks the path. In the background, Great Links Tor. In front of that, Little Links Tor. Further south, Arms Tor and Brat Tor. The view off the moor over the Devon countryside here is pretty spectacular. We've got a low-lying sort of mist which adds a bit of an air to it. On top of Brat Tor is a monument which we're going to visit later, so I'll save the details until we get closer. Here we are at Noden Gate, right on the edge of the moor. You can probably see the traffic on the main road over there. It's a 10 Tors checkpoint, also a useful point for joining or leaving this walk if you wanted to shorten it. The scouts, when I bring them here, are always fascinated by this thing here. Some sort of submerged bunker, probably military, but I wouldn't like to hazard a guess. This is what it looks like from the other side, no less bunkery. At the bottom of Brat Tor is a river crossing. You've got every choice of crossing. There's a good sturdy bridge. You can just do a straight forward. And there's a set of stepping stones. Having looked at the river states today, I'm really not confident about there being drinkable water higher up. So I've filled up here. Fortunately, I did it before the cow wandered into the stream. And this is why we always put the purification tablets in the water. A much better view of our monument now, which is called Widgery Cross, and that's where we're going next. Climbing the steep way up Brat Tor now, straight up the front of it. There's a shallower, longer way round. I thought I'd just get all the pain out of the way in one go. Sun's out now as well. It's a beautiful day, but obviously it's warm and I'm warm. So I've made it to the top of Brat Tor. I'm just under Widgery Cross now, and it's just going to be a little scramble to get up beside it. Having done the little scramble, I'm now touching Widgery Cross, obviously, but far too close to get a decent shot of it, so I'll have to move back a little bit. In case you're wondering, Widgery Cross was erected on the top of Brat Tor in 1887 to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of Queen Victoria. And it was actually a chap called Widgery who financed and planned and had it built. He was a local artist. If you look at it closely, you'll be able to see that they aren't just straight blocks that it's built of. They're actually carved to interlock in a quite a complex way. And I imagine that's probably what kept it there for 137 years. And probably will for another 137. As well as gaining a lot of height, we've circled round now, so our perspective is very different. We're now looking at the other side of Arms Tor and of Great Links Tor. And now we can also see Sharp Tor on the left here and Hare Tor. this path now from Brat Tor, which is heading directly towards Great Links Tor. So in theory I could just go straight up there and pitch camp, but I've got plenty of day left and there's some other interesting stuff around. So before I get there, I'm going to cut off to the right and go and find some other stuff to see. There's a red flag flying on the top of Hare Tor, which tells us that the military are firing in Willsworthy range. There's another one confirming it on top of Doe Tor. Fortunately, we're not going down there. Something not so often seen on Dartmoor, a shake hole. More likely to see these in the Brecon Beacons. However, we're about to go past some old mine works, so I'm imagining that it's something to do with those. Close up and for quite a way into the distance, you can see big areas of the ground here have been dug away. It is all the result of human work, excavation probably of lead. These excavations actually appear on the Ordnance Survey map, which makes them rather an excellent aid to navigation. They appear as embankments. I'm looking up at my planned campsite, Great Links Tor. We're about 300 or 400 metres away from it at the moment. And we have here the Holy Grail, running water. I am at the hilariously named Dick's Well. Ignoring the entertainment value of the name for the moment, I didn't have a great deal of faith that this would be running, given how dry everywhere else is. But there is running water here, so that's good to know for the future. Even on a really dry day, there's a good chance you'll be able to collect water this close to the top of the Tor. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to scoop some out, see what sort of colour it is, because it can be a bit brown and peaty around here. And here it is, and that is really not too bad at all. That is perfectly drinkable with the purification tablets in it. So that's a bit of knowledge stored away for the future. There's been a fair bit of ribald humour applied to the naming of things on Dartmoor over the centuries. If you think Dick's Well is funny, wait until we get round the corner. I'm back on the path now. If you want to find Dick's Well, then this boundary stone is your marker on the path. Once you find it, take a bearing to the well. So 44 paces behind me as I stand here. There are a few things to see in this corner of the moor. That is Bleak House, a ruin, which is on the Ordnance Survey map. And the sound of rushing water that you can hear is provided by Rattle Brook. Now this is a guaranteed source of water. There's a clapper bridge over it here. It's not that far from Great Links Tor. The question is, what colour is this water going to be? I'm going to scoop some out now and we'll see. Well, I've seen videos where this has come out looking like coffee without any actual coffee in it, but this is actually alright. It's a little tiny bit brown, but I certainly wouldn't blanch at drinking it. It's not as clean as the stuff that came out of Dick's Well there. Apart from having seen that video with the dirty brown water, the direction this brook comes from is a very marshy, boggy area of peat, which we're actually going to cross as part of tomorrow's route. So that was why I was worried what the water would be like here. But that set my mind to rest. A bit of a pilgrimage as we're in this part of the moor. This is Green Tor. And if they took the trouble to name it after me, the least I could do was come and visit it. Looking east from the top of Green Tor, this is Amacombe Hill, which is basically just a big lump of nothing. We can just about make out Kitty Tor in the distance. Looking away to the west, our final leg of the day, you can see Great Links Tor up there at the back on the right. The two objects in front of it I will describe as we go past them, because they are of some interest. I promised fans of low-grade humour something even better when we got round the corner, and now we are round the corner. And this rock, with the sun framing it beautifully, believe it or not, is called Dunner Goat. It's one of two Dunner Goats. That is Lower Dunner Goat, and up there is Higher Dunner Goat, and that's obviously because it's higher up on the hill than Lower Dunner Goat. And I'm sure that's what you were all thinking. Now, I have no idea where that name came from. Maybe it meant something in Cornish or some even more local dialect. I'm not even going to speculate. If anyone knows, put it in the comments. But there you have it. Dunner Goat. Today's wandering is almost done, heading directly now for the overnight stop, Great Links Tor. This path across to Great Links Tor is like a microcosm of Dartmoor itself. Doesn't matter how dry it is everywhere. It soaks up the rain, a lot of which falls here because it's higher up. And it just hangs on to it. So even after a really dry summer, and lots of really dry areas that I've come through today, up here, still boggy, still squelchy underfoot. It looked impressive from far away, and it looks mighty impressive from close up. I've arrived at Great Links Tor. Now I need to get in among these rocks and find somewhere to pitch my tent. In sight of the trig point, I think I found my spot. Nice and flat, out of the wind. And I shall make sure it looks like this after I've left tomorrow morning. Away to the west, it's looking promising for this evening's sunset. After a day's wandering, finally time to chow down. Cheers. Morning folks, it's just gone 6 AM. Trouble with this time of year, autumn, is that you don't get dawn until about 7:30. So if I want to get going at any reasonable sort of time, I might have to get up and start pottering around in the dark. But I think I might lie here and think about that for a little while I've awoken to a very misty scene here, although I can see a crescent moon overhead, which tells me it's low lying. So as time goes on, we might be able to see above it. I might be the only human for miles around, but I'm definitely not alone. Dawn is happening now, somewhere over there. Not going to get a particularly good view of it though. Well, got coffee. Got breakfast. And might even have dawn. And what a dawn. This is called a cloud inversion. At the coldest part of the day, the cloud condenses, becomes heavier and falls beneath the air. If you're high up enough, you can look out over an ocean of cloud, where all the other local peaks look like islands. There are times when you're out walking in the hills, you're cold, you're tired, you're hungry, you're in your tent, it's uncomfortable, you can't sleep. You wonder to yourself, why do I do this? And then there are times like this, when you're looking at this sort of stuff. And then you think, that's why. I'm about ready to leave my campsite now, and that cloud inversion has turned into a real pea super. What happens is, before dawn when it's cold, the cloud sits down in the valleys because it's heavier, the moisture in the air is heavier. When the sun comes up, it warms up, it starts to rise, and now we just got thick blanket fog. And here is the after view of my campsite. You would never know I'd been here. navigation is going to be fun this morning. I can see about 40-50 yards tops. So I wouldn't put yourself in danger of this sort of stuff if you don't know how to navigate in these conditions. Just looming up out of the mist, another part of Great Links Tor that I didn't even know was there till I came down that path. Walking on the correct bearing, I had a feature I was looking for, I knew I was going to hit, and here it is. We walked on a different part of this yesterday. This is another part of the track of the dismantled railway, and this is going to be our path from here on for a short while. Heading along the dismantled railway now, eastwards towards Kitty Tor. I'm quite thankful really to have such a well-defined path to follow while I wait for the rest of this fog to burn off. At the end of this branch of the dismantled railway, more signs of the area's industrial past, ruined buildings, big girders sticking out, that kind of thing. This particular ruin is actually on the Ordnance Survey map, so it's a useful way marker as the path goes right through the middle of it there. There is no path from this ruin marked directly up to Kitty Tor on the Ordnance Survey map, but this sort of work has been done to make it passable, and from previous visits I happen to know that you can go that way. More work underfoot here. Big stone laid there, little wooden walkway here, more little wooden walkways just ahead. This area heading up towards Kitty Tor is a peat bog, and it's the one where Rattle Brook, which we crossed yesterday, originates, which entirely explains why I was worried about the water that we took out of Rattle Brook being a horrible brown colour. Even these wooden walkways don't help that much. This stuff is fucking hell bottomless in places. The great truth I've just learned actually is that these wooden walkways do show you which way to go, even though it may not intuitively look like the right way to go, because there's surface water there. I just went thigh deep there, and it wasn't very pleasant, but it looked like the ground was solid there. And then I just followed the walkways. There was surface water, but the ground was more solid there. I've now got a stick out and I'm just testing every piece of ground I walk on. So take a great deal of care if you come this way. Past the horrendously boggy bit with the wooden walkways now, heading up on a nice defined path up towards the top of Kitty Tor, marked by these rather useful posts with a bit of white paint near the top. There's one here, and I can see another one further up ahead. After that momentarily alarming incident in the bog, time for a nice calming coffee. Cheers. Looking back, I can now see the top of Great Links Tor, where I came from, but only the top. This cloud is still laying quite low, and looking over to where I can see over to the North Devon countryside, it's still blanketed completely. So it's only up here where we can see. Coming round, you can see Yes Tor and High Willhays. But then, beyond that, there's another massive bank of cloud moving down the valley. This is what the top of Kitty Tor itself looks like. It's got a flagpole, which they put a red flag on when they're doing military firing around here. Fortunately none today. Well, no fortune about it, I checked before I came. And then just a little bit further down there, a couple of the grey boxy huts that the military are so fond of putting up in various places around the moor. Coming down the eastern side of Kitty Tor, we can see this cloud that was laying in the valley all night, warming up, lifting, burning away, and we can start to be able to see the rest of the moor. You can see Links Tor there, which is a useful navigation aid for where we're going. Coming across, we can see High Willhays and Yes Tor, where we're going after that. This is Sandy Ford. Reason for the name should be obvious. I've tried to do this route a couple of the times. I've brought the scouts down in January, and this river crossing has always defeated us. It's just been too busy. And okay, we might have been able to get across, but might is obviously not good enough when you have young lives in your care. Perfectly passable today though, in October. Having crossed Sandy Ford, I've come across the bottom of the valley and I'm on the hill the other side now. Even at this time of year, there is some fairly dodgy ground in this area, and I would stick to the defined path that you can see. I wouldn't even attempt it in winter. This is Fordsland Ledge, a useful navigational point on the way up the side of High Willhays. It has another ugly grey military box, an accompanying range flagpole. The great thing about it is it's the end of the steep part of the climb and the beginning of the shallow part. From here, much nicer, easier, shallower path straight up to High Willhays. Now arriving at High Willhays, highest point of Dartmoor. Standing on top of High Willhays, 621 metres, the highest point of Dartmoor. Suddenly, from this vantage point, we can see huge new swathes of the moor that weren't visible before. Panning round from the south to the east and the north, we can see literally dozens of tors, far too many to name. Looking back westward in the direction from which we've come, we've got the day's best view yet of Great Links Tor, and in the foreground of it, Kitty Tor. Having done that huge great climb up to High Willhays, it's now just a simple stroll along the ridge to Yes Tor. Approaching Yes Tor now. To the naked eye, from pretty much anywhere on the moor, you look at it, it looks like it's higher than High Willhays. Perhaps because it's that much more imposing, much more rocky. However, it is in fact 2 metres shorter, 619 metres. Doesn't stop it being quite impressive though. Another trig point bagged. Not that I haven't been here loads of times, but it's always nice. The moor's second highest point is also close to its northern edge, so we get a panoramic view of the now considerably less foggy North Devon countryside. Yes Tor is one of the three you can see from the 10 Tors finishing line at Oakhampton Camp, so it stands to reason that the opposite is also true. We can also see this curiosity. It looks as though somebody's built a substantial shelter around what looks like a bog. I have no idea what's going on with that. The military are all over Yes Tor today, buzzing around it in a chopper. And these guys, the civilian staff who look after the firing range, driving around it. The ponies ignore it all and munch steadily on. Collections of huge rocks that have eroded over millennia and tumbled down the sides of Yes Tor and many others on Dartmoor have a local name. I'm going to spell this very carefully, given all that business with Dixwell and Donegal yesterday. C-L-I-T-T-E-R. That's right, Clitter. I'd normally head in a straightish line to Willhays Corner to recross the West Oakman River using the bridge there. Today I'm trying a bit higher up in the hope it'll be a bit less boggy. And that brings me a lot closer to Brat Tor. I've dropped right down to the West Oakman River now. To save me going down to Willhays Corner, I'm going to cross here. There's a passable looking boulder crossing. I'm not going to film myself doing it though, because on a boulder crossing like this, you always want both your walking sticks and to take a great deal of care. Safely across now. This is what it looks like from the other side. Don't take that on unless you know what you're doing, and unless you've got a good solid pair of sticks. From down here we get another angle on Brat Tor. Just below that boulder crossing, the river runs through an enclosed area of wood. The boundary is shown on the map, but it doesn't say anything else, so that will have to remain a bit of a mystery. It's possibly another part of the Brat Tor Copse National Nature Reserve, which from higher up we can see upstream. Having climbed back up from the river crossing, we can now see all the way back across to the top of Yes Tor, where we were earlier. All the way across to where we are now, Shelstone Tor, which has some interestingly shaped and balanced rocks perched on it. Looking away to the west, we can see the penultimate stop of our entire trip. A second visit to Sourton Tors. Homing in once again on Sourton Tors. Not going to bother with the trig point this time, as we went there yesterday. As previously trailed, not going to bother with the trig point here at Sourton Tors. Just going to head on down to the car now. That's the northwest corner of Dartmoor covered off over the last couple of days. Pretty difficult for me to rate Dartmoor. I know it so well, I've been here so many times. Difficulty wise, I'm going to give that a 7. Perhaps if you've never been here before, an 8. I come here every January with the Scouts in this particular part of the moor, and there are so many things that I have to walk by because I'm so busy dealing with the Scouts, and I've been able to visit those on this walk. I'm thinking of Great Noden, I'm thinking of Widgery Cross, Green Tor, those sorts of places. The wild camp at Great Links Tor, the camp itself was nice enough. Waking up this morning to that dawn and that inversion was just incredible. I have to say that's probably the best one I've ever seen, and if I ever see a better one than that, I'll be a very, very lucky man. Today, crossed Sandy Ford for the first time ever. It's the first time I've ever tried to cross it in anything other than the depths of winter, so probably don't plan to go that way in January, but certainly entirely passable at this time of year. Climbed up the opposite side of High Willhays than I usually do. Enjoyed that as much as I always do, and likewise Yes Tor, and then very interesting detour via nearly Brat Tor back over to Sourton Tors. It's difficult for me to say anything other than come and do this walk because it's amazing, but then I'm biased, aren't I? I love Dartmoor. All maps and 3D fly-throughs provided by kind permission of Ordnance Survey through their excellent OS online application. Big thanks also for all music used in this video to mixkit.co and tunetank.com. Specific song and artist credits can be found in the comments. These videos are intended to show you around the routes I walk in case you're considering doing them yourself. They are absolutely not intended to be any kind of general hill walking guidance or training. If you need hill walking skills, obtain them in person from a reputable, qualified provider. Please don't attempt these walks unless you have the required levels of fitness, equipment, knowledge and experience. You can find more about me and my background at my website paulperambulates.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Paul Perambulates. If you did, please subscribe and share.